recorded.
Okay, so now I'm recording it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Trap Life. I'm your host, Nate Albaugh, longtime high school football coach here in Illinois at a small school now called Hayworth, where we still stay under center, we hammer the ball, and I love it. And Trap Life really has become just an opportunity. I think it's great to have to be able to be in touch with like-minded coaches. Because you take a lot of heat if you stay under center. You're just going to take heat because it's not what people see on TV. So you're going to take heat. So I think it's great to have a place where you can be around like-minded people because I think there's an awful lot of wisdom to it. And I'm joined today by Brandon Lorenz. Is it Lorenz? Lorenz, how do you say it?
Either way. I mean, Lorenz works, L works, Lawrence works. I was called that all growing up because nobody could get it right. So.
Well, welcome to Trap Life. Coach, tell us why Trap Life? Like, why do you belong on this channel? Like, why does this feel like a place for you?
Well, I mean, I grew up playing football in a small town in the Midwest in Michigan, Hesperia, small village of 500 people. So, you know, everything gets closed down on Friday nights for the football game. Doesn't matter how good the team is. I ended up joining the military, getting out, and then I reached out to a coach out here in San Diego, Sean Sovacool, who runs a really good program. He's very much affiliated with the military. And I got a head coaching job as a Pop Warner coach. This is my first gig, right? And I fell in love with trap. I had a kid out there who could bust it. I had a center, and I had a pulling guard who could just make it work every single time. And I still believe it's probably one of the top 3 runs that you can make happen right behind midline and, you know, power. You can make any of those happen. You're going to have a really, really good night. And so trap has always been a very big compliment. It's been a core run for the teams that I've coached. I started out in the flex bone. I started out in high school in the flex bone. And then recently I just went back to Pop Warner due to my studies, and I have to focus on that. And, you know, trap again, whether it's short trap, long trap, play side G onside trap, or a tackle trap, or a motion wham, it's always been very, very effective.
So you said you had coached some high school level. Now with your current schedule, it just fits way better to coach Pop Warner. What do you see for yourself and your future of coaching?
Well, you know, that's I think everybody has to identify this with. I have to ask my family and make sure that my wife is a-okay with it, but you know, she had a fun time this year with it, where she got to sit back, my kids got to watch it. My oldest boy, Andrew, he's gonna play tackle at the 8U level, so I'm gonna coach him there with another friend of mine. And hopefully, you know, after I get my PAC, that's where things go, is I can work clinic hours, not work holidays, not work weekends, and I can coach football, because that's where I feel the absolute happiest. You don't make a lot of money, but, you know, if you can make money doing one thing and then do something else and be happy, it's a perfect balance.
Amen. It is a joy to coach. Well, Coach, the floor is yours. You can present your screen and speak for as long as you want. Show us whatever you want. And when you're done, I'll have a few questions for you and we'll wrap it up.
All right. So this is the first presentation I've done over Zoom for most of it. So the team I coached this year was the Rancho Hills Titans Pop Warner. It was a molding of 3 different schools due to the lack of numbers. 3 programs kind of combined together, and we formed one. And it turned out to be a very, very effective model for getting a lot of kids a lot of reps and not having to worry about outside situations such as equipment, kids getting playing time. Everybody had a great time. The core run that we sat behind was trap. Trap has been very effective for me everywhere that I've been. I heard Andrew Coverdale say one time in a clinic that there hasn't been a screen that he's found that he didn't fall in love with. And I believe the same thing for me, whether it's the short trap where you're kicking out the first guy head up to outside the play side guard, a long trap where you're trying to kick out a 4-eye or wider, a tackle trap where you're trying to block back towards the backside tackle and kick out anything from a 0 to a 3, a wham block where you're getting a motion receiver in to kind of fill that role and change up the look a little bit. So first and foremost, we sit in the wishbone. Coach, I like to sit under center as well. I feel like if you're in the gun, you're really going to be hard pressed to get those short yardage runs and really impose your physicality. What I have drawn up here is, it's kind of one of the first PowerPoints that I've done for a clinic. Is when I instruct things, I like to do them on the field. I like kids to be able to see trash cans, so on and so forth. I don't know how well kids do looking at PowerPoints such as other coaches would. But what I do here is I have my center aligned with everybody, but that's not how we line up. We line up with our tight ends, tackles, and guards, ear hold to the center's hips, or as far back as we can get until we're going to get flagged. That's going to help us out a lot in the power run game, anytime we're pulling, such as trap, in the option game. And it really allows us to keep the defensive's hands off of us so we can get going around and we can bring the physicality to them. My fullback, technically, sometimes you hear clinic talk, hey, put his heels at 4 yards from the top of the ball. What I do, and I got to give a lot of credit to this, is I got this from one of the coaches down in North Hall, Georgia. I got to do a quick clinic with him, and we sat in and we chatted, and he was talking to me, hey, why don't you do it this way? Try it this way. And, we had a ton of success with putting the fullback his hands 2 yards from the heels of the quarterback. It worked out a heck of a lot better for my fullback instead of measuring from the tip of the ball. My halfbacks, both of them, they're going to sit with their helmet to the inside leg of the guard. And now we do vary our splits, but we're not going to go over that right now. And then they want to have their fingertips about a yard behind the heels of the fullback, but sometimes we'll cheat them up, especially on a fullback run where we want to switch the roles and responsibilities and let that fullback, get some love. And then we'll move our H-backs up just a little bit so they can become lead blockers and be in a better or a more advantageous position. Our trap rules. This is just kind of some things I jotted down. We block trap the same way everybody else does. The center's going to block back for the pulling guard. The guard's going to pull and kick out on short trap the first thing, head up to outside of the play side guard. If it's going to be a long trap, it's going to be a little bit further. If it's the onside trap, the play side guard pulls and kick. It's the old G scheme that the wing T guys like to run. Those are the three that we're going to go over. We do ours a little differently, and I got this from the North Hall guys on how to change up and be very multiple to the defense, but keep everything very simple for your kids. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and call the run action plus trap. The reason why we're calling trap is we're getting over pursue by the defense. Maybe the defensive linebackers are playing stack to flow on run assignments. And so this is a great way to get them kicked out. So in the huddle, let's say, we're getting a lot of penetration coming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my quarterback, and I still make them run over to the sidelines with me, and I talk to them and make sure they understand what I'm looking for. And I'll tell them, let's go blast trap. And now he's got the play, but he has the assignment of going up to the line of scrimmage and deciding where that bubble is and calling the play. So all I've done is said the run action plus the blocking scheme. It's going to be up to him to go up to the line and say, this is where we need to run it. Here's the bubble. So the way this kind of varies out a little bit is if the number is going to end in 0, 1, or 2, it's going to be a short trap. And we know the backside guard's going to pull and kick. The first guy head up to outside the number called. If it's going to be 4, 5, or 6, it's going to be the same rules. It just turns into a long trap, and we're just going to block back, gap down backer, same way everybody else does. The only difference is if we're going to run 6 or higher, the play side guard pulls and kicks out this time. And then everybody else is going to scoop or look to cut if they can. What that's going to look like is we'll share it over to this side. I have it listed as Badger. Badgers get trapped, especially up in the north where you and I are from, Coach. If we look at the top left, what we've done is got trap off of a counter dive action. So for us, this would be blast trap. And then the quarterback's going to come up. He's going to say, hey, that left A gap, that's wide open. So that's where we're going to run this to. And so he'll go up and he'll say 120, 121, 122. And all that's doing is telling, without giving too much about what we do, 20 runs are going to be to the right, 30 runs are going to be to the left. We don't get any more complicated than that. 1, 2, 3, obviously those are the holes. I'm not going to go too much into that either. The one thing I think that we do a little bit differently, though, is we fake the run action towards the trapping guard side. What that really does is if you can look in the top left, you see the Will, the Mike, they're hard chasing, they're stack to flow players. They see that blast action coming up or the counter dive, and they're going to start to stack and flow. And that's going to give my guards, my centers, and even my tackles a little bit more time to get themselves in a more advantageous angle. In wishbone, flexbone, it really doesn't matter. Anytime you're looking to run the ball, the things that I firmly believe in are going to be numbers, angles, grass. If we're in a balanced set such as we are now, we balance the defense out the most that we can. Now we're going to look to create angles. So let's go ahead and show them run action one way. And if they're going to be very disciplined and wait, then we're going to have execution without the trap. If they're going to over pursue it, then we're going to have execution with the angles, and we're going to cut off of the center's block and stay inside of the hip of the pulling guard. And that's really going to create kind of a different look for the backers to see, to maybe slow them down for a half a count. If we look over in the top right, this is just a different run action. The quarterback comes up and he says, that A gap's filled. I don't feel too comfortable with the B gap. That end could really play either side. But what I feel really comfortable is that inside gap to the tight end. And so that's going to be a 6-hole for us. And so quarterback's going to come up. He's going to say 126, 126. And again, that doesn't change the play. It just assigns the snap count, which side we're running it to, and where we're going to be running it at. The backfield action is still the same. At this time, we've called counter, which for obvious reasons, I didn't drop the backside. I don't feel that that's too important. All the rules still stay the same. But now it tells the guard, hey, I heard 6. What I need to do is I'm going to be the puller. The guys past him are going to block gap down backer, and that's going to really help us seal. The top right is an overload formation. One of the things that I've discovered more the last 5 years is overload or heavy. Teams don't really tend to adjust. If they don't know what you're trying to do, they want to stay really, really balanced. And, you come out in a wishbone, they think either they're going to run a ton of option, or they're going to run power, or they're going to run toss. And so they like to stay very, very balanced. The bottom left, we're looking at trap off of midline action. Midline is so near and dear to my heart. It's the first play that always goes in every single time. I'm not a heavy power guy. I am a heavy make you wrong kind of guy. Let's read him. Let's put him in a vicarious position to where he doesn't really know what he's looking at. And the way we do that is, scouting, we're going to say, hey, their 3 technique likes to sit at the tight end side. The 3 tech likes to kind of sit towards the field. Either way, we're going to put ourselves in an advantageous position. Again, we're going to open up towards the pulling guard. Quarterback's going to step off the line, clear the midline. Fullback's going up, eyes up, trying to cut right behind the back hip of the guard. And he's putting his eyes on that Mike backer that's probably going to come down and scrape. And our play side guard's going to be able to create that angle on him. If we look over to the bottom right side, this is the blast trap, but with the 6, it becomes a double dive situation. I grew up understanding that belly didn't mean the fake toss fullback trap that a lot of people associate it with the flex bone. Belly, when I was growing up, always meant fake one, hand to the second. And that's kind of what we've tried to teach, is a way to help our kids learn. Instead of dive, ISO, power, we're teaching them that means belly, and he's going to put it directly into the belly. So it's the same action as we're seeing in the top left, down in the bottom right. The only difference is after the quarterback rides that through or just holds it real tight to pull in linebackers, such as the Will and the Mike, allowing that rover to sit over in our terminology, which would be a free safety or a strong safety, that when he sits and he starts to come inside, now that right-sided tight end, he has a better angle. That play side guard is pulling and kicking. And now we're in a much better situation where that corner that's sitting over there, he's going to play responsibility as secondary force if he's not playing deep third, and he's going to have to come down and secure that quarterback. Otherwise, we're going to have a quarterback that could potentially cause a lot of problems for defensive assignments. One of the other things that I'll kind of touch on is we have play action off of this, and it's my favorite play action because it confuses the heck out of defenses. And Coach, you might have had this too when you've put in play action. Is Bill Walsh was very famous for saying, if you want to throw play action, pull a guard. I pull the guard opposite. I'm very big into that. I feel very confident with that. When teams start to come down heavy and read the guards and see that they're pulling, I know I'm going to have a little bit of a better blocking angle for my offensive line, my fullback, my halfbacks that are coming through, because we're just going to throw a simple 2-man, maybe a 3-man with a backside Y cross concept. I know Coach Mackey is really big on the Y cross. I like to listen to him chit chat about that because he's given our offense, as old and rustic as it is, some new ideas that have really helped us out. We'll do some simple 2-man things, smash flat. Maybe we'll get a flood going with the backside H leaking out. But mainly we're going to pull him across and allow him to max protect on the front side to make sure that quarterback has ample time. So from what I've become very, very comfortable with, Coach, is I think the trap is, like I said, top 3 play amongst all coaches, all offenses. No matter what you're running, there is a way to run this trap, whether it's a short trap, a long trap, the onside G trap or G down belly, whatever you want to call it, wham, or a tackle trap. There's not too many ways that you're not going to be successful if you're running trap and you're getting those heavy, stringent defenses where they're playing very, very assignment, which you come out and play an option-oriented offense, you have to play gap sound, right? The wing tee, the split back veer. I know coach up in Lakeside, Michigan, he runs the veer. That's been really the only way to stop run-heavy offenses is play gap assignment, and that really creates advantageous positions for us with the trap. There we go.
I had to unmute my mic as well. Coach, thank you, man. A couple things that I found interesting that I had never actually heard.
Are we still recording?
Yeah, I believe so. Let me see. Yeah, I believe so. I hadn't really heard of associating like that belly G scheme, down, pull the front side guard with like the trap family. I get it that front side guard is kicking out like trap, but I hadn't really seen them put together in the same family. So I like that. And so like that language and everything is coming from where for you when it comes to like that we could just trap same side.
So I heard Nick Saban talk one time about how he installs cover 3, cover 6, match 1, all in the same day because it's all the same family. And so I've seen other coaches on Twitter say, these are my families, these are how I group things. And so I started thinking, I have all these traps or pullers, why not put them together? And so for me, if you're down, kick out, it's just a front side trap, to be honest. Yeah. Why are you running that? That play side end is refusing to come down. Trap them out, kick them out, get yourself vertical.
I like it.
So I guess that's something
you're right. It's the same thing. Like if you take guard, tackle, tight end, that 3-man, and it's the exact same scheme as it is when it's guard, center, guard.
Yeah.
Exact same scheme. So anyway, I just found that really interesting. And I just, I've been doing this for a long time, and I still constantly come across stuff that I'm like, I hadn't really put those two together when it makes perfect sense to put them together. Coach, when you said like that you would call blast trap.
Yep.
Give me a better idea as to what options your QB has to call when he hears that.
My quarterback is not changing the play unless we're seeing a full house, everybody's coming, there's nobody deep. That's the only time he's ever going to get a chance. And then it's going to be a 1-man or 2-man route based on if we're in a double tight, single tight, or if we have a twin set.
Okay.
So my quarterback's coming up, and if he's coming to the line, he's saying, okay, that A gap is open. Coach said it's blast trap. We have to go right here. So I know the center's got to go, and that backside guard's got to pull and kick. So he's going to look over. He's going to call it twice to both sides. He's going to say, 120, 120, 120, 120, or maybe the defense is aggressive and we're going on 3. So he's saying, hey, 320, 320, 320, 320. And then we're going set, go. And if they don't jump, we're going right away. We're getting that push down because the minute they realize it's on 3, they're sitting back on their heels, making sure they don't jump. And that's when I feel like the real heavy hitter attitude. That's how I describe our trap series. It's an attitude play for us. So that's what we're looking for right there. We're really lucky being in the wishbone that we get trap +1 with the fullback leading because we're going to give it to the H-back behind it.
Yeah, I saw that in your drawing, and I thought that was interesting. I was having actually couldn't really understand it because I'm like, are they going to give it to the guy behind? And actually, so you're being able to run trap with a lead blocker.
Yep, and that makes it little harder for defenses to come in and trap, or they want to come in and wrap up the fullback. Well, I mean, that's great, but he's not getting the ball. You know, Paul Johnson was famous for saying he went to the Atlanta Falcons to help him with the option. And they said, well, we just want to blow that guy up. We're gonna hit the fullback that's got it in the backfield. He's like, that's great, but he ain't gonna have the ball. Tackle him all night. So we like to do that. And then one of the other ones, the belly off of it, where we're gonna go ahead, reverse out on blast, let the fullback clear. The H-back is gonna go ahead, take his step up. We're gonna ride him through, pull as many eyes in there, because it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you're getting your butt kicked by blast, you're coming in there. Nobody's staying 100% disciplined. We've seen this with Alabama. We've seen it with Georgia playing option teams. You know, again, I'm a huge Coach Saban fan, so I've got a ton of quotes for him. When he said, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we played a Georgia Southern team and they ran through through a tin horn, man, and we couldn't stop them. So, you know, I've always liked that.
Now, when you say I'm going back to your quarterback being able to make a call. What options does he have? Like, he could call, when you say blast trap, I'm just trying to think through it for myself. Could he call trap to the A gap? He could call trap wide, like belly G. He could call that. And your quarterback, how old are these kids that are making this call?
The two kids I had this year, like I said, they were Pop Warner kids. They were 13, 14 years old. But I mean, these are day one things. When we put in blast, we put in midline with it. So it's very similar for the offensive line. It's very similar for the quarterbacks in what they're looking for. And it's the same blocking scheme for them. They don't have to worry about it.
How do they know what are they looking for? I'm looking for an open A gap, number one.
Yep, I'm looking for the innermost open gap to try to establish what I'm trying to do. If they come out in a 4-3 or that under front that a lot of teams are starting to come out, and there's that open A, but there's a B to the other side. Hey, I know I want to come in here, but okay, that Mike is showing pressure every single time. Let's go ahead and run it to the B gap to the opposite side. And then maybe they go from 120 from 121 to 134. And they want to go to the opposite side, because that Mike is coming in every time. And if that guard's pulling, that center is going to get him one-on-one as he's coming run through. And that's going to get, that Mike backer coming in, probably getting tossed into the nose if he's getting him there. So we're going to have our quarterback very well versed in what he's looking for, so there's no concerns.
And the kids are able to execute all these traps.
Kids are so fundamentally sound upstairs that sometimes we overlook that, and we don't want to put too much pressure on them. But if you look at it the same way that, strength and conditioning coaches, some of them will look at adding weight to kids. You don't fully contract every muscle when you're doing a movement if you don't have enough weight on it, if that makes sense. So I'm not stimulating my kids' brains enough if I'm not putting enough on them. If they're saying, whatever, I know it's the open A gap, they stop trying to focus, stop trying to get things right, because they feel that they've got it down. They don't need to rep it anymore. And so when you say, okay, well, you've got these three options and you better come up with the right one. I've given you the tools. If you have questions, I'll gladly answer it. But if you go out there and make a mistake, like Steve Spurrier said, I'll fire you. So my kids I've had really, really good kids everywhere I've been. Everywhere it seems like, oh my God, I've got more good kids. How am I getting this? Is somebody doing a simulation and just giving me all the good kids? They've always been very well versed, very smart, very respectful, and very hardworking of the utmost.
Now, do you ever get stuck in a situation where you're like, man, I need a gap trap. I need it now. And you can't change it on me. It's telling your quarterback that.
Yeah, so we had gotten into a position against one of the teams in the playoffs this year that we had lost to, where we just needed to hit it. They come out in a 6-2. They were stacking head up on the guards. They had their backers sitting in 40s, and then they were just closing off the end, so there was no getting out. So what we had to do was we had to pound, and, we can talk scheme all we want, but it came down to the kids that we put in there. So I took my quarterback out. I said, listen, you can go out there and get all the reps, or we can go out there and try to make this a game. And we came back from 24 down to make it a game with 8 points. Yeah, it was 8 points, and there was about 2 minutes to go, and we fumbled on the end zone. So
Coach,
it's just putting your kids in a position saying, hey, go make this happen. This is on you.
I like
And
that. And it's certainly an area where I have to grow more, is putting more on my quarterback at least, but likely on my kids as well. That's somewhere I've been, I'm pretty certain I've been too cautious. So coach, who are some of your biggest influences when it comes to the wishbone? Like your offense as a whole, who are some of your influences that you're getting your system and ideas from?
It's funny you say that, because I've got a stack of books over here, and it's not just the wishbone that's helped me grow, right? It's been the split veer, the twin veer, Lou Holtz, obviously. I've got stuff from David Axman, Jim Wacker, Pepper Rogers. I've got some Coach's Choice books. Funny enough, the iBone, those two books have been huge.
Yeah.
So we install that at the same time as the wishbone, because all it is taking your stud and putting his toes at 6 yards. Everything else stays the same. And then you get your power, your counter. You still have your fullback dive. You still have your wishbone complements. Plus, you have a little bit more to play with motion-wise.
Okay. Man, I like this. And that's the thing for me, I've been doing it a long time. And then you come in telling me that you're coaching 13 and 14-year-olds and you're allowing your kids way more say than I'm allowing mine. And I'm coaching 17, 18-year-olds. And I'm like, how are guys doing this? How are guys? Because when it's not that I haven't tried at all, but somehow, again, I just think I got to put the onus on me, and I got to teach it. And I got to be okay with the growing pains that's going to take to get us there.
Well, you and I are kind of in different situations too. You're coaching as a job. I'm coaching as a volunteer. I don't have to worry about, that paycheck not coming next week, or, maybe you get some fans or parents in the stands carrying pitchforks and looking for any kind of retribution they can get. Hopefully that never happens to anybody. That's
right.
Some silly stuff that I don't understand why people do. But, we have different motivations and different real expectations.
I like that, man. I like it. I like what you said, Coach. I like your little presentation. And I feel pushed. I feel pushed by this. I do. And I can already, I know I'll be sitting up tonight with a little pen and paper and looking for those little ways, going, okay, because I know I've had a couple of smart quarterbacks. I know they could help get us out of trouble. If I give them permission to get us out of trouble, I need to do that.
The biggest thing that I struggled with when I first started that first head coaching job in La Jolla that I got, I didn't put enough faith into my quarterbacks, and my quarterback was very, very, very intelligent. I mean, I think he went on to an Ivy League school this year graduating. So, that doesn't just come out of nowhere. But to give them a simple system to where they can go in and own it, it's not about you and I doing this. We're never going to take another snap. It's about them going out there, them being comfortable, however it makes sense to them, putting them in a more advantageous position as opposed to how the defense is doing. Because defense is read and react. I'm sorry if I've offended any defensive coordinators. It's read and react based on what we're doing. It's our job to establish. It's our job on the offensive side of the ball to make our players in a better position, because we know where we're going. The defense is chasing from behind. Mm-hmm. But they're getting better and better every single day, I swear.
I had no doubt about that. Well, Coach, I really enjoyed having you today. Guys, you can look up Brandon on Twitter. It's at BMRL1988. Look him up, and I'm assuming, Coach, you're willing to take questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, anytime. It's, a lot of coaches have said it. It's all about giving back, because I didn't invent any of this stuff. I don't get to take credit for any of this stuff. This is a product of everybody that I've reached out to. Again, the guys from North Hall, Georgia, they just retired this year. They were outstanding in helping me. Outstanding. I cannot thank them enough.
Well, again, thank you for your time, Coach. And all you guys that are watching Trap Life, stay encouraged. There's lots of guys running the style of football that you run, and there's a lot of wisdom to it. And you can see that this game gets complicated in a hurry. And I think it's all these little details. Yep. It's not just the X and O on the paper. It's the details of everything.
Can I add one more thing?
Of course, Coach.
The biggest thing on trap, and I had to learn this the hard way, is that guard has got to pull flat. Andrew Coverdale calls it a rendezvous block or rendezvous block. Get to where they're going, not to where they're at.
I like that. A rendezvous block. Spell rendezvous.
Not a chance.
I just started to write it down. I went,
I know it's REN and then it's Devu.
Okay. I'll look that up afterwards. Coach, thanks a ton for your time. Everybody, give us a follow on Trap Life on Twitter and spread the word to your friends. Thanks again. We'll see you around, Coach.
Thank you for having me, Coach.